Good morning, ladies, gentlemen, and everybody in between. If you're watching this as a rerun here, you can skip ahead 15 minutes. So there you go. Just getting things warmed up here, getting things ready to go for the stations to get on here. Busy night last night.
Note to self. At work today, try not to say.
There you have it. Let's shut that down and bring this up here. Bring that up. Test run this here so I know this works. There you go. Morning, Waylon. What's happening in the Bisman area today? Oh, man. A busy night last night. There's the RWR. Busy night. I got to figure out how I'm going to set up some pens today. Going to make life a little easier when we're separating these heifer pairs. Tired of no wind. Same thing here this morning so far. Excuse me. It was actually pretty decent when I went out this morning. Morning, Chuck Hansen. How goes it in the Fort Pierre area? Oh, your girls at the hopscotch all in one shape, good shape yet or what? Had a buddy yesterday, Austin was headed that way after during the sale. He's like, I got a couple things I want to buy, but I got to get on the road. Karen, good morning out of the Mobridge area. Good to have you along this morning too. Thank you for bringing some sunshine into my day. I'm going to come down this summer again. I got to doesn't look like I'm going to be making any hay again, so I'm going to be fishing. Get old Brent Chemnitz on the hook. What else? That's about it. New baby calf. There's another one on the other side, and I got to separate them because I didn't see this one sucking yet. This one was born at about 3:15 this morning. And I've been up with it, and I have not seen it get after it. So, a little frosty out this morning. Oh, where's it? I should probably call Margaret. Probably give her a call, get her hooked up here, make sure everything's good to go. Darn Texas numbers. Let's see here. That's going to be loud in my ears. There we go. Let's see if I get an answer.
Good morning.
Good morning, Margaret. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am pretty darn good.
It's good to hear.
Yeah. We are currently live on YouTube until the radio stations pick up the feed and we start. So we got about 9 minutes before we get started here.
Okay, sounds great.
So, but we are on YouTube, so we're just BSing before we start.
All right, sounds great. Yeah.
What's Trent Luce been up to?
I haven't kept up with him at all. In fact, I haven't seen him probably since last summer.
Is that right?
Yeah.
He's been making a lot of appearances around North and South Dakota.
Yeah.
He's been been getting pulled in from farm bureaus all across and different organizations. Just making sure that we'll keep people up to date.
Yeah, that's very good. Yeah, I actually followed him up. I spoke at the Young Farmers and Ranchers conference there in North Dakota at the Farm Bureau, and I followed him up after he did a couple sessions. So yeah, that's good. It's really good to
So
keep
you got
people
to
kind
meet
of updated on this.
the Daryl Lease, huh?
Yes. In fact, Daryl is the reason I saw him there, and so I asked him. We were talking about Senator Kramer, who had filed the bill to stop 30 by 30 in the Senate, and so I asked Daryl. I said, "We'll invite him to the conference, and we'll give him a speaking spot." And so that's how we have Senator Kramer on our agenda. Yeah, that's really good.
So how much can if they say they shut down 30 by 30 and then they just rename it something else, how's a person going to go about whatever they name it? I mean, America the Beautiful or whatever they do here. I mean, how's the person go against that?
Well, this whole thing is very difficult to fight because they're not going through any proper channels. So they haven't. Yeah. And so the way they're doing it is they're just simply using existing programs to get to their end goal. And so that's why it's been difficult to kind of figure out how to target it because, they're using the Endangered Species Act, they're using the conservation programs, wildlife corridors, they're using all of these tools they already have. And so you kind of have to look at it from what's the overall agenda. The overall agenda is actually to get to the 50%. So, but if they actually went through Congress, if they went through the proper channels, the people would oppose this. And they know they wouldn't be able to get this done. So they're just doing it through existing programs, just basically reworking these programs so they change the goal and the outcome. And that's why we have to be very attuned to, the devices that they're using on the ground.
Yeah. So this is an outdoor show. And I try to tie the ag side with the hunting, bring it all together. And the one thing that really scares me, we'll bring this up when we start the radio program.
Okay.
There's a few things North and South Dakota are doing that seem to be good in nature that the wildlife divisions have brought up and seem to be good programs until you research who's funding them. And I have a hard time backing anything that's funded by the World Wildlife Fund, the Nature Conservancy, and there's a handful of other ones, especially the Nature Conservancy, because that one's in both states that is supporting a couple things. And they, if you start doing a little research on that group, they're all about giving somebody money to control land, and they control it, and they don't allow hunting until they seem it's deemed fit that there might be a population overload. Well, they never see that. They never come up with that. And I have a hard time with that. I really do. So I'm hoping to discuss that with you a little bit. And hopefully, some other of those organizations that people think are feel-good things that, that sounds good. Like years ago, we had a bill go through North Dakota State Legislature that was called the Clean Water, Wildlife, and Parks. Sounded really good until you found out who was behind it, which was HSUS. And they were trying to do all kinds of great stuff there in North Dakota. We got that defeated, but it took a little bit. So I think they're coming through that way. If you want to talk about 30 by 30 and you talk about using that, I think they're using some of these so-called wildlife groups that may not actually be wildlife groups. They just claim they are. I think they're going that route too quite a bit. So I'm the bad guy saying that some of these groups are bad people, but I'm just trying to wake the people up a little bit,
Well, when we have to remember that this same crowd is the same crowd the crowd that is trying to control the land and get control of the land and basically move off the private landowner or take control of it in that way. They're also the same people that don't believe in hunting.
Why no? Yes, I do. And everybody's, a lot of people. First off, I got to do a countdown here for the stations quick.
Okay.
Stations 70200 70200 coming up here. 70200 might be 80200 Central Time coming up on Mark. Okay. All right. So, but yeah, I think I hate to say it, but I think there's even people that look at this and say, well, there's nothing wrong. We live in the western side of the Dakota Territory where either it's national forest, national park, Forest Service ground, or Bureau of Land Management. And then there's private land checkered in between. And that's where I live. That's where I ranch. I rely on my ground pretty good. Like my neighbor says, we're in the business of raising grass, and our cattle utilize that. And now I think, with these 2 dry years in a row, I think they're going to use that, especially the Forest Service put a mandatory cut on all of our grazing allotments, which is understandable. But they wanted to put a 50% cut. They wanted us to get rid of half of our herd in the entire western side in order to get through this without looking at the ground, without looking at those pastures. And we had a little issue with that one. So, our grazing association fought pretty hard. We had a 20% mandatory cut, which I get that, but 50% would have been, half of the ranches would have been going, how are we going to get through?
Yeah,
there's no way. And that's how they're coming at it. And people don't see that. And there's a lot of people going, well, I'd be fine with more public land because I can go hunting, but that's not what they're using it for. They're eventually going to stop that too. Look at Arizona, look at California. You can't even coyote hunt on their public land anymore.
Yeah, that's what's coming. For sure.
Well, you're going to get me fired up, so I'm just giving you a heads up. Are you taking your COVID medicine, your ivermectin? Are you taking that? Because I know in Texas you can get the pills right across the border pretty cheap.
Oh yeah, yeah. We have a good source, but actually, I think he's out of Louisiana. I'm trying to remember where he's from. But my husband makes sure we're in good quantity.
Good.
Yeah,
I take mine right out of the cattle farm. I just took it here live on YouTube here, so it's my once a week get after it type thing. So
nice.
Yeah. All right, so break at 15 after, break at 30 after.
Okay.
And we'll be done about 54, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Just to give you a heads up and kind of the format on that.
All right.
And I'm calving heifers pretty heavy, so I'm checking those as we do it.
Okay, well, you keep an eye on those. Hey, have you seen this report out by the Heritage Foundation called Lands and Habitat in the United States Reality Check by Rob Gordon?
I have not.
This is a great report. It goes through and it challenges all these 30 by 30 notions. And
it does.
The conclusion in this, yes, and the conclusion is land and habitats are actually increasing in America. We're not losing them. And it's hard numbers. It's actual factual numbers.
Cool. Well, hold on to that. We're going to have to go quiet here. We're at 7:05, 10. I'm going to go down quiet, let the stations get ready. We'll be right back. Stand by, Margaret. All right, stations 7:05:30 coming up. 7:05:30. 7:05:30 on Mark. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Saturday edition of Dakota Prairie Outdoors. I'm Scott Bachmeyer, your host for the fastest outdoor hour in radio history here. Thanks for listening all across the Dakota Territory. Stations all across like Minot, North Dakota, KCJB. Good to have you guys along up that way. KLTC and Dickinson, KFYR, the voice of the Northern Plains, Bismarck, Mandan. Also, Mobridge, South Dakota, KOLY, right there on Lake Oahe, and moving down all the way to Pierre, the capital city, is KGFX. Good to have you guys along here this morning as we continue another Saturday morning. If I look a bit rough on my YouTube channel, just bear with me. It's calving season in heifers, and I had a busy night last night, actually. So finally, every couple hours checking paid off. Everything so far is staying alive here. So keep it with me here as we look at my YouTube channel. If you want to join us there or watch it as a replay, you can sure do that. It's Dakota Prairie Outdoors Radio is the channel name. Now, before we get started with today's program, couple of bull sales you can catch me out here in the next few 30 days or so. The first one here, RWR Ranch out of Harvey, North Dakota, is having an online-only auction. That's coming up. 38 yearling bulls, 10 2-year-old bulls. Go to DV Auction. It starts March 20th here, next week, real shortly here, and the bidding finishes and closes on March 22nd. That's again on DV Auction for the RWR Ranch out of Harvey. Now, let's go to Montana. Well, actually, Ekalaka, Montana. Medicine Rocks Angus Ranch coming up on April 22nd. This one, they're taking them across the border to the Bowman Auction Market in Bowman, North Dakota. April 22nd, lunch at noon. Sales starts at 1 o'clock. It's the Medicine Rocks. Also, Spring Angus has a few bulls in there, too. And once again, one of their proven Medicine Rocks Beaver Creek bull sire. They still have him going strong and hard out there. So a couple of bull sales that you can catch me out here in the next 30 days. Very quickly, if you're a North Dakota resident, don't forget that you need to update your hunting and fishing license starting by April 1st, and that's good for the next hunting and fishing season. Now, mountain lion season update. Now, this is important. I'm going to tell you why. I have been mountain lions 2, calving 0 in the past year. That's why I had to bring everything home and start calving them here in the corrals, because going out and feeding a couple weeks ago, and I have a boxer dog that thinks he's pretty athletic and chases a lot of things. And he likes chasing rabbits. He thinks he's pretty good at that. He's scared of elk, but he got himself. There was a couple calves that the mountain lions were snacking on, and he chased them up into a tree for me. Now, in the North Dakota side of things, the conditional season opened March 6th. I didn't know this. I thought it was closed up altogether. I didn't have time to look, and I didn't have service. So anyway, the conditional season for mountain lion in North Dakota side is open right now. There's a harvest limit of 7 of those. Now, South Dakota has been going strong. They're up to 37 lines taken already, 23 females and 14 males. The latest one taken here March 11th. And a nice big female in Lawrence County. So that's still going on here until about April is when that one shuts down. Now, that's what's happening around my world here, but mountain lions are not the only predator that livestock owners need to worry about. I think there's a bigger one coming after you and your control over your private property and your hunting privileges, even on public land. Margaret Byfield from the American Stewards Liberty joins me today for an update on the 30 by 30 land grab. You may also have heard of it called America the Beautiful Act. Ms. Byfield, welcome to the program.
Hey, thank you, Scott. Very pleased to be here.
How about that as an intro? Mountain lions taking a couple snacks out of my calves. How about that?
Yeah, that's pretty scary. But you know what? I mean, you just brought to light a point that a new study that just came out, published by the Heritage Foundation, actually found that land and habitat in America is actually expanding. And so that what you're seeing is exactly what that report talks about, that our large ungulate species, the large game species, they're actually expanding across America. Their habitat is not shrinking. They may not be in their historical habitat, but they've expanded out of that. Mm-hmm. And so what that report found is that the lie that we've been told by the environmental community that's supporting 30 by 30 is just absolutely inaccurate. Our lands and habitat are in great shape in America.
I think so too. And things change. You know, a lot of people say, well, the habitat wasn't like it was 100 years ago. You're right. It's better. Okay. Yeah. I wasn't there 100 years ago, but you look at photos and everything back then, it's like, they could shoot whatever they wanted and no game limits or nothing like that. Yeah, I really think that things have changed for the better. But like you said, animals move to where things are going to be, maybe the food's going to be easier to get. Look at coyotes. They're moving into cities and they're eating out of dumpsters. Bears are eating out of dumpsters. They're going where the food is, and they're making it work, right? I mean, that's not a problem. They can adapt to that thing, But the biggest thing that really gets me is somebody I had a layover in Chicago one time, and have you flown to Chicago?
Not for a while. It's been a few years.
But when you fly over and it's a clear day, you look down, it's like just cement everywhere. Mm-hmm. And then they're trying to tell me, somebody that lives in Chicago, that I'm bad for the resource as a rancher.
Yeah.
and they're living in cement. I mean, for hundreds of square miles, they've taken away all the habitat for any animal there. And they're telling me I'm bad for the environment. I don't know about that. It's hard for me to grasp that one.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, is that the proponents of 30 by 30 come from that environment. They live in the cities. They're not the people who own the land or work the land. They're trying to get other people to do it the way that they want.
Mm-hmm.
And this is interesting. This is another thing that comes out of Rob Gordon's report. He looked at the question of, are we actually losing habitat in America? And he found out no. In the period of 2001 to 2016, there was very, very little change in habitat from natural habitat to development. In fact, it's like 0.3%. And so it would take actually 4 decades for us to increase that to 1%. You want to know the total number of acres in America that is actually developed? It's 5.3% of America, of the lower 48 states. 5.3%. Those are our cities. And half of that is what they consider open space. So it's the parks in the cities, the golf courses, the large lots with the trees on it, the water, areas that they keep open for drainage. So we're really talking about a little more than 2% of America is developed, is Chicago, all cement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And to get to this number, the number that the proponents of 30 by 30 use, they say, hey, we are losing a football field worth of habitat every 30 seconds in America. That sounds very scary. Well, that works out to 11 million acres in 10 years, if you even believe their numbers, which this story shows aren't even accurate.
I hate to interrupt here, but if they're losing a football field every 30 seconds, it's usually because it's in a city.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not us out here.
No,
it's
it is
the city
not.
folk. Yeah.
But it is you who they want to control.
Oh, absolutely.
It's really interesting when you study these people. You find out there's certain things that they just absolutely do not believe in. First off, they don't believe in private property rights. They may give lip service to it, but they ultimately don't believe us as individuals should be able to own land and control that land. They think it should be done by the administrative state or them, because they think they're smarter about it. The other thing that they don't believe in hunting. I mean, you have to remember, what is the purpose for 30 by 30? The purpose is they believe in the coming decades that over 1 million species will go extinct worldwide, and 1/3 of all America's species. This is about species and protecting species.
Margaret,
they do not believe in hunting.
I'm going to have to cut you off there. We're up against the first break. Stay with us. We're going to continue this right after these messages here, all across the Dakota Territory, 6 states, 2 Canadian provinces, and around the world. Be back after this. The RWR Angus Ranch will be having an online production sale starting March 20th and closing the 22nd. Online sale will be hosted by DV Auction, 38 Black Angus yearling bulls and 10 2-year-old bulls. Sires include Broken Bow, Basin Payweight, Raven Powerball, and many more. Bulls will be available for viewing at the ranch southwest of Harvey. For pictures and updates, follow the RWR Angus Ranch on Facebook or find them on Bizman Online. Proven fertility and powerful bulls offered through DV Auction online only sale. The RWR Angus Ranch online production sale, March 20th through the 22nd.
As an independent insurance agency, Dakota Community Insurance partners with leading insurance companies to offer products that are designed around you and your farm insurance needs. As a leader in farm and ranch insurance, we can help you to minimize the risk to you and your operation, including farm equipment, livestock, farm buildings, and crops. Stop into your local branch to visit with our insurance agent or visit DakotaCommunityBank.com. You can rely on us when nature strikes. Dakota Community Insurance.
At Dakota Community Bank and Trust, that's what we do.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
Our outdoor heritage is important to North Dakotans, and the state's oil and natural gas industry is advancing the possibilities for conservation. The North Dakota Outdoor Heritage Fund receives up to $40 million per biennium from oil and natural gas taxes. The industry is reclaiming land for future generations, and it's developing our state's natural resources in harmony with our great outdoors and wildlife. North Dakota Oil and Natural Gas, advancing the possibilities. Brought to you by the North Dakota Petroleum Foundation.
Pifer's
Western team of Andy Murdoch and Jim Savvy would like to invite you to sit down and talk about the future of land planning. Whether you're looking at selling, buying, or options to hand it down to the next generation, Andy and Jim will lay out all of the options for you. It's a great time to buy or sell, and with interest rates to make it profitable. Piper's Western team, Andy Murdoch and Jim Savvy. For more information or land updates, go to pifers.com. Rockin' 7W has all the panels you need. Freestanding panels, windbreak panels, feeder panels, and the original protester panel. If you don't know what that is, it's a sort panel that makes sorting calves from a cow a breeze. You can do it in a fraction of time with just one person on foot or horseback. You can custom order sizes to fit your current operation, or you can start from scratch. Rockin' 7W also does trailer repair on any size trailers, mobile welding, and custom cattle hauling. Call Justin at Rockin' 7W at 701-206-1030. That's 701-206-1030. Rockin' 7W, the farmer and rancher's go-to guy. The Medicine Rocks Angus Ranch, along with the Spring Angus Ranch, invite you to Bowman, North Dakota, April 22nd for their annual production sale, selling 70 head of bulls and 45 head of commercial heifers. If you're looking for longevity, good udders, and structure for a solid herd cow, you can trust that Medicine Rocks and Spring Angus bulls will give you those genetics. Remember, it's not just about pounds, it's about efficient pounds. Medicine Rocks and Spring Angus annual production sale, Friday, April 22nd at Bowman Auction Market. For more information, go to medicinerocksranch.com or find them on Facebook. Western Frontier Insurance. Agents that understand you, your needs, and the community. Whether you're looking for coverage on your farm, ranch, home, or auto, you can trust that Western Frontier Insurance will find you a combination of price and coverage that works for you. No fancy jingles, no talking boxes or animals, just good neighbors helping to keep you covered. Western Frontier Insurance. Offices in Hazen, Washburn, and Wilton. Hi, everybody. This is Scott Bachmeyer, and besides being the host of Dakota Prairie Outdoors Radio and also a rancher in the Badlands, I'm also an auctioneer. So if you're looking to auction off property, maybe you have farm equipment, a production sale coming up, even a benefit or a fundraiser, I'm the guy that can help you out. Maybe you're listening and you have your own auction company and you find yourself short of help sometimes. I can step up as an auctioneer or even help as a ringman. Give me a call, send me a message, 701-425-6651. That's 701-425-6651.
On that road, but don't you worry, one day I'll settle down. And when that time comes, I hope you're still around. I hope you're still around. I hope you're still around.
Welcome back, everybody. Dakota Prairie Outdoors Saturday edition continues here across the Dakota Territory on many great radio stations covering 6 states, a couple of Canadian provinces. Good to have you along, our friends up north across the border and all around the world. If you're watching on my YouTube channel here at Dakota Prairie Outdoors Radio, which a lot of people are, Margaret Byfield with American Stewards of Liberty is my guest, and we're talking about the 30 by 30 land grab. And this was President Biden did an executive order, I believe it was last January, February, and did this. And their ultimate, and then they switched it to called America the Beautiful Act. And Margaret, I think they're looking at doing 50 by 50 by 2050 and controlling more property by the federal government. And we'll get to some of that. But I have a couple comments. And before the break, I cut you off on a few things, talking about a few statistics. And I'm going to let you continue that. And then we'll go to these comments that are being brought in.
Yeah. I think what's really interesting is we have to remember what 30 by 30 is about. What is their reason for doing this? And that's what I was saying before, is that they say we're going to lose all these species. And they say in America that 1/3 of our species are going to go extinct. Well, the data does not show that. And we have to remember how they get to that number. It's a projection. They use a model and they put their assumptions in and they get this great big number that they can scare people with. And it's just not accurate. And it's not science. That's for sure. It's a big guess, but it fits their purpose, which is trying to scare people into believing this narrative that things are getting worse in America when the actual data shows things are great in America for land, for habitat, and for agriculture. This is the other part that I think is very interesting, is that our agriculture production has, I think, tripled in the last like 75 years, or that number may not be correct. but in a fairly short time frame, and without taking in more land. In other words, without converting more land to cropland.
Right.
And the production has tripled, and food prices had gone down until Biden came into office, because of productive agriculture. And so, we're getting more efficient even with what we're doing. And this is the other thing that's very interesting is over that period of 2001 to 2016, there is very little, if any, land use change in America. In other words, forest lands stayed pretty much the same. I think they had the largest decrease of like 7.6%, which was as a result of harvest and pests and fires, which we're seeing a lot of
wildfires
on the government managed land. And so they saw the greatest reduction, which was a 7.6%, but also a lot of regrowth. But actual development didn't change. Agricultural land didn't change. Grazing land didn't change over this period. And so we're not seeing this huge land conversion. We're seeing land and habitat get better in America. We do not need 30 by 30. We do not need more federal control of land. If we do that, we're going to go in the reverse. We're going to start looking like the lands in the West, the wilderness areas that are burning up because they're not managed. They become monocultures. There's no grazing, and they're just prey species in there. And that's the worst type of management. We really need our landowners out there that live on that land every day that can take care of the land the way it should be.
Now, I know Trent Luce was speaking at a few events across North and South Dakota. He mentioned that some of these wildfires, the wildfires that happened, just one wildfire that happened, I believe it was in California last year, just one wildfire produced more emissions than the entire United States could do in like 2 years. And all they need to do is more logging. Now, there is a couple things. There's a few text messages and messages I want to get to. And before the previous break, I mentioned that I feel over the last 100 years, things are better conservation-wise than they were back then. And I had somebody, Tim, responded that. He says, I agree for some species, but a lot less buffalo roaming the plains these days. In 2022, Hugh Glass wouldn't be mauled by a grizzly bear south of Lemon, South Dakota. Now, you're right. There's not as many buffalo roaming around. There's no doubt about that. However, I still think things change. I mean, at that time, that may have been the area where maybe some grizzly bears were, and now they moved maybe to Montana, and who knows where they moved to. But he does make a point, though, that it's maybe some species. But can a guy make the argument that over hundreds and thousands of years, no matter of human interaction or not, that some species just fall away? Some flourish and some don't.
Absolutely. We're never going to change that. I mean, us trying to control nature is something that is just, we're never going to change that. We definitely can make things better for species, but just because there aren't as many buffalo doesn't mean that there should have been that many in the first place. I mean, you always have highs and lows in populations where certain populations grow bigger than the land can really handle, and certain populations diminish. Maybe it's drought. And that's just the cycle of nature. And there's nothing that us as humans, we can't control that. And so certainly we can set up conditions so that the best conditions are set for the species, but to try to control that just does not make any common sense. There are always going to be species that go extinct. That's just part of the cycle. And so, we can't really, to try and control that is just nonsense. And to try to use that, but that is all being an excuse being used to take the land away from the people and to eliminate hunting, because that's the long-term agenda. You have to remember these people promoting 30 by 30 and the half earth philosophy, which is where they're ultimately headed. They do not believe in killing species and eating them. Most of them are vegan. And just the same as they don't believe in individuals should have the right to own land and control over their own destiny. They don't believe that either. It's the same radical crowd behind this agenda. And so, but they use these things as excuses when the data doesn't support it to scare Americans into these kind of things.
Yeah.
It's really just I don't know. I find it very hypocritical. I think it's the wrong way to approach this, and we have to get back. Us Americans that have some common sense need to get back to looking at the facts and being discerning and understand that this whole 30 by 30 is a marketing campaign to fundamentally change the way that America works. And, the other point that I like to make when I'm out talking to groups is, why are they doing this in America? We have to remember, this is an international agenda. This is being pushed on every nation. In Canada,
and they're using climate control as part of it.
Right.
Yeah.
But see, when they get to America, they have to do it differently. Why? Because in America, we own the land. See, in other nations, they don't have to worry about this property rights problem that they have when they get to America. And that's why they've had to market this different. They've had to say, hey, we are just here to help working landowners. And we are here because we want to make sure everybody can hunt and fish. They have to do that in order to sell this to the American people, because the American people ultimately control the land. We still control 60% of the land, which is privately owned. 36% of the nation is owned by the federal government. So they have to sell this to the people to get us to buy in, which is different than what they do in other countries, where they can just go tell the government, hey, you're going to have to set aside 30% of your land. So that's why we get marketed differently in America on this agenda. And that's why they court the American Indians. They're another group that is being used in this process.
Yes, they are.
The hunting and recreationists and the people in the cities. They're all being courted to get in on the caper of getting them, supporting this agenda to control the private land ownership in America and control all of our land, so the people no longer have a say in that.
Well, Margaret Byfield is my guest here. She's with the American Stewards of Liberty, and we're talking about the 30 by 30. And coming up in the second half of the program, we're up against the break right now, Margaret, so stand by with me here. In the second half, we'll talk about a summit that's coming up. We'll get to a lot of the messages that people are texting in on this as well, which is great. If you want to do that, you can find me on any of my social media accounts, or if you want to text it, 701-425-6651. Or if you want to call into the radio program, you can do that, 888-932-5682. That's a toll-free number, 888-932-5682. We'll be back. More Dakota Prairie Outdoors Saturday edition, continuing on with Margaret Byfield, my special guest this morning, with the American Stewards of Liberty right after these messages. The RWR Angus Ranch will be having an online production sale starting March 20th and closing the 22nd. Online sale will be hosted by DV Auction, 38 Black Angus yearling bulls and 10 two-year-old bulls. Sires include Broken Bow, Basin Payweight, Raven Powerball, and many more. Bulls will be available for viewing at the ranch southwest of Harvey. For pictures and updates, follow the RWR Angus Ranch on Facebook or find them on Bizman Online. Proven fertility and powerful bulls offered through DV Auction online only sale. The RWR Angus Ranch online production sale, March 20th through the 22nd.
As an independent insurance agency, Dakota Community Insurance partners with leading insurance companies to offer products that are designed around you and your farm insurance needs. As a leader in farm and ranch insurance, we can help you to minimize the risk to you and your operation, including farm equipment, livestock, farm buildings, and crops. Stop into your local branch to visit with our insurance agent or visit DakotaCommunityBank.com. You can rely on us when nature strikes. Dakota Community Insurance.
At Dakota Community Bank and Trust, that's what we do.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
Our outdoor heritage is important to North Dakotans, and the state's oil and natural gas industry is advancing the possibilities for conservation. The North Dakota Outdoor Heritage Fund receives up to $40 million per biennium from oil and natural gas taxes. The industry is reclaiming land for future generations, and it's developing our state's natural resources in harmony with our great outdoors and wildlife. North Dakota Oil and Natural Gas, advancing the possibilities. Brought to you by the North Dakota Petroleum Foundation.
Piper's Western team of Andy Murdoch and Jim Savvy would like to invite you to sit down and talk about the future of land planning. Whether you're looking at selling, buying, or options to hand it down to the next generation, Andy and Jim will lay out all of the options for you. It's a great time to buy or sell, and with interest rates to make it profitable. Piper's Western team, Andy Murdoch and Jim Savvy. For more information or land updates, go to pifers.com.
Rockin' 7W has all the panels you need. Freestanding panels, windbreak panels, feeder panels, and the original protester panel. If you don't know what that is, it's a sort panel that makes sorting calves from a cow a breeze. You can do it in a fraction of time with just one person on foot or horseback. You can custom order sizes to fit your current operation, or you can start from scratch. Rockin' 7W also does trailer repair on any size trailers, mobile welding, and custom cattle hauling. Call Justin at Rockin' 7W at 701-206-1030. That's 701-206-1030. Rockin' 7W, the farmer and rancher's go-to guy. The Medicine Rocks Angus Ranch, along with the Spring Angus Ranch, invite you to Bowman, North Dakota, April 22nd for their annual production sale. Selling 70 head of bulls and 45 head of commercial heifers. If you're looking for longevity, good udders, and structure for a solid herd cow, you can trust that Medicine Rocks and Spring Angus bulls will give you those genetics. Remember, it's not just about pounds, it's about efficient pounds. Medicine Rocks and Spring Angus annual production sale, Friday, April 22nd at Bowman Auction Market. For more information, go to medicinerocksranch.com or find them on Facebook. Western Frontier Insurance. Agents that understand you, your needs, and the community. Whether you're looking for coverage on your farm, ranch, home, or auto, you can trust that Western Frontier Insurance will find you a combination of price and coverage that works for you. No fancy jingles, no talking boxes or animals, just good neighbors helping to keep you covered. Western Frontier Insurance. Offices in Hazen, Washburn, and Wilton. Hi, everybody. This is Scott Bachmeyer, and besides being the host of Dakota Prairie Outdoors Radio and also a rancher in the Badlands, I'm also an auctioneer. So if you're looking to auction off property, maybe you have farm equipment, a production sale coming up, even a benefit or a fundraiser, I'm the guy that can help you out. Maybe you're listening and you have your own auction company and you find yourself short of help sometimes. I can step up as an auctioneer or even help as a ringman. Give me a call, send me a message, 701-425-6651. That's 701-425-6651.
On that road, but don't you worry, one day I'll settle down. And when that time comes, I hope you're still around. I hope you're still around. I hope you're still around.
Welcome back, everybody. Music right there from Benny Paulson and Breaking 8, bringing back the fastest hour in outdoor radio right here. It's Dakota Prairie Outdoors on all across the Dakota Territory. Glad to have you along here this morning. And everybody watching on YouTube, thank you so much. Margaret Byfield with American Stewards of Liberty is my guest here. Like you said, it's been about a year since you were on my program, and we discussed it last year. And a lot of things have changed over this for the first main administration 30 by 30 talk here. But let's get to some of the messages that are coming in so we can get these, because one thing I really pride myself on this radio program is it's still live. And it's very difficult in the radio business sometimes. And I know a lot of the radio shows I used to listen to on the weekend that used to be live, now they pre-record everything and send it. But it's what I do. All right. And I trust me, I could pre-record this and have a good time and take a weekend and go travel around and do some things, but I don't. I'll stay here and do this here. But what I like about it is the people that listen to the show, we like to have a conversation. And this is what we do. So the gentleman that messaged before, he says that he comes back. He says, I'm not advocating for a revision of the environment of 1804 or 1806 when Lewis and Clark came through, just saying that things change. Some species have benefited and others have disappeared. And I 100% agree with him. Don't you?
Yeah. Absolutely. And, that's going to happen whether or not humans are here or not.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, we just have to, and no, it's a really good point that he makes.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good point for us to remember and put that in perspective. What can we control? We can't control everything, and nor are we the cause of all things bad in this world. It's actually the opposite. I fully believe this world was designed for us to use and for us to maintain, and we were called to be stewards of the land and of the species. Which means, and we see the best lands in America are the ones that are managed properly by productive use. And, if we steward it well, it does exceptionally well. And you see that with our landowners that can, give their land to the next generation over generation because their land continues to produce and do better. And so I think that's the perspective, that I like to keep in mind. What can we control? We can't control everything. These things are going to happen whether we're here or not.
And it's all in the eye of the beholder, too. And I got a story about that. Gian out of Mobridge says, cattle grazing has replaced the bison grazing on the plains. Migrating birds don't differentiate between a cow or a buffalo, and they still get around. So got that. Also, yeah. And text message comes in earlier, which I should have got to earlier, but he said even 20 years ago, as a soil conservation district supervisor, he said, I learned that wildlife organizations couldn't care less about cattle, agricultural, and soil conservation. As long as programs enhance ducks, wildlife, it was all good. And they say some of these people have bowed to the wildlife groups so much that it really has not helped. And that's surprising to hear that coming from a conservation district supervisor.
That's very astute, though.
Yeah.
I mean, he's seen it. He has seen the progression, and we do have to have the long version on this, the long vision on this.
Yeah.
If we just look at the game they're selling us right today, about all the great they're going to do for us as landowners, because they're really selling these conservation programs to Americans right now, and saying, hey, we're going to give you all this federal money so that working lands can stay in working lands. Well, that's the selling point for today, and we have to look beyond that to see what is the true agenda here. And I think that's what your soil and conservation director just pointed out.
Well, look at some of these programs that people don't read the fine print on, especially conservation reserve programs. There's go to Jordan, Montana. There's 4 or 5 ranchers that thought, this looks pretty good. I mean, they're giving more money for the CRP program than they ever have, and they signed it and they didn't read the fine print and found out that there was a new thing entered into that program. And now the land that they have is trying to remember the old Buffalo Commons they were trying to do. Now they call it what? Nature, is that Nature Conservancy or Nature Preserve? I think they changed the name to Nature Preserve or something. Now that's the same thing, and they're kind of regretting doing what they did because that's what they want to turn that land back into. Another message comes in here. It says Colorado in the late 90s wanted prairie dogs to be declared endangered at the state level. This to stop the hunting and killing of prairie dogs by the Eastern Plains ranchers. It started a huge controversy. Don't know the status of it today. I don't live there, but because one group thought a cute animal needed saving, everybody thought they had to get on the bandwagon here. He says, by the way, 3 are also the people who wanted to kill the mountain lion that eats Fluffy.
That's cute.
So yeah, I mean, so as I said, it all depends on the eye of the beholder. So I have a friend that recently took a trip out to the mountains of Montana. And he said that him and his wife were sitting there, and his wife looked and says, isn't this just beautiful? And he said, he had a different perspective. He says, well, it would be if they would manage the land a little bit better, but you can tell where all the deadfall from the fires have been and all this, and there's nothing but weeds growing and hound's tongue and leafy spurge over there and everything. Yeah, it's nice and purple and yellow, but it all depends on who's looking at it and how you think it should look. And I think some of the more urban people, when they visit certain areas, and they see, here's a great example. When I was a kid, we had somebody visit the farm where I grew up in Farm and Ranch, and we were walking down the road or driving. I can't remember. I was pretty young, but they said, "Can you stop? I want to pick these beautiful little white flowers on the side of the road." And it was Creepin' Jenny.
Oh.
So, you know what I mean? So I think it's all in the eye of the beholder of what you think it is, what beautiful is. You know what I mean? And but a lot of people don't know different weeds, I guess. So
Hmm. Well, my family and I went through Yellowstone last summer, and I had been hearing, I hadn't been there, and I had been hearing that it really was not well managed at all. Well, I wanted to see it for myself, and we went through it, and I have never been in such a majestic area that felt so dead.
really,
And
really,
yes, I mean, and yes, it's full of buffalo, which means, the way that they graze, they really tear up the land. And so there's a lot of dust. You don't see hardly any wildlife at all. And I love their sign saying, hey, the wildlife only comes out, during non-visiting hours. And, which these signs, and I think, do the people really believe this when they drive through here?
I'm
But
sure.
yes, I
I'm
mean,
sure. Yeah.
it's so majestic because of the landscape, the mountains and the huge waterfalls, and you've got all that. But when you just sit and you look around, you see all these dead trees and these areas that have burnt out. And you look at the grazing lands and you think, oh my gosh, it's so sparse. It's like a light green. It should be a really, really deep green. And anybody who knows anything about land management can go to Yellowstone and just, it feels dead. But you go right outside of the borders, like on the Idaho side in particular, and where the forest is properly managed and where you've got big, lush meadows from the ranchers that are there, and they graze their cattle. It's night and day. It's lush. It's green. It's got cattle on it. It's got wildlife on it. Yeah, that was really interesting to me to be in that area of Yellowstone that has been managed by the government for so long. It is mismanaged, and I think anybody who knows anything about land management would walk in there and say, "Oh my, if we were ranchers, we would never let this happen."
Text message comes in and says, yeah, it's the same guy about the Soil Conservation District Supervisor. He said, yes, agree on Yellowstone. Need to cut that buffalo herd in half.
Good point. Yeah.
Now, he brought up something here, and I don't want to get into it, but I have never watched a single episode of Yellowstone. I'm one of those guys that I just haven't, and I hear two different versions. One side of it says, well, at least they're showing and portraying, the ranching way a little bit. At least something about ranching is number one in the television side. And then you hear the other people on the other side, because I haven't watched it because I don't have an opinion on it. They say, well, they're just portraying it the wrong way. And so I don't know. So I haven't watched it. Have you? Have you watched it?
When it first came out, I tried a few episodes, but I grew up on a ranch. So I grew up on our ranch was 1,100 square miles. So an average day for us riding was about 25 miles a day. So my picture of what a true working ranch is a little bit different. We were the working ranch owners. I guarantee I didn't wear as many diamonds as they did, on that when I was, out there. So
come on now.
I know. So it kind of got lost on me, and I just never really got into it.
I've been sent a few snippets of it here and there, and I'm like, man, it's not how I do it. Anyway, back, I got a text message to me. Says we visited south of Mammoth Hot Springs, and after we saw hundreds of buffalo, the first thing out of my wife's mouth was, wow, here's a perfect example of overgrazing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. And that's just, so this idea that maybe buffalo should be back into the Buffalo Commons area, which goes from Montana all the way down through Nebraska, which they are pushing. I mean, right now the BLM is, they have an environmental assessment out where they are planning to convert a livestock grazing allotment to buffalo. I mean, they're pushing this. Really working towards this. But, that's just another species that if it's properly managed and if they graze right, which frankly takes some human intervention to help them, then they're fine. But they shouldn't be running loose and destroying all the land.
No different than the Native Americans. I mean, I was reading the story here. Very fortunate to have a lot of Native American friends in my circle, but I was received one book out of Flanders, South Dakota by a lady, and it explained how the Lakota people would move the buffalo between summer and winter, and that's why they traveled. She said everybody thinks that they followed the buffalo. She said they actually moved them.
Okay, that's a really good point. You know,
whether that's true or not, that was part of the book that I read from that history, from the Lakota written people.
hmm Well, you know, our first president of American Stewards of Liberty was a man named Frank Duran, and he was a Delta pilot. But when he retired, he moved back to Pierre, South Dakota. And Frank was a full-blooded Lakota Indian, and he was also my dad's best friend. And so, yeah, hearing his perspective was very interesting. And that's why, you know, I have a real love for the American Indians, I think, really from Frank. I mean, he was such a great, great man. I kind of considered him my second father, the way that he took care of me when I was growing up. But, you know, that culture is being misaligned right now and frankly used. And I know that there obviously are problems, but, you know, I've been watching the environmental movement for 30 years, actually longer than that. And I've watched it grow from this very, very radical idea that very few people even believed in to now their marketing has been so good that they have people in cities afraid to use their hairspray for the aerosol. You know, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that, I mean, I've watched them take over the narrative in America and just have that history of knowing their ultimate agenda. And so I just view this differently. I think we've got to be very discerning about what they're trying to sell us, because ultimately their goal is to fundamentally change this nation. And one of the reasons I am such an advocate for property rights is because that is what gives us, the people, the ability to control our government. They know that. I mean, if we own the land and the resources, we have the power over the government. That's how we were set up. That's why, you know, the Louisiana Purchase, that's why every person, every family that wanted a piece of land could go out and stake 640 acres. You know, our founders didn't give that to the millionaires. They gave them to the common people so that every person could own a piece of land. And that's the culture of our nation. That's what made us so strong and made us the world leader, is because the people own the land and the people control the government. Well, that's what they're trying to destroy.
Look, right now, the federal government doesn't even utilize their own resources under the land that they're in charge of. But before we lose time, you've only got about 4 minutes. Tell us about the summit that's coming up in Nebraska, Lincoln, Nebraska. Give us the whole lowdown.
Oh, this is going to be fantastic. I mean, I am so thrilled with all the people who have wanted to come in and help put this together. So we have, well, first off, Governor Ricketts in Nebraska, my favorite governor, because he has taken such a good stand on 30 by 30, and he just has a great backbone. He's our host. He's hosting this summit. And our keynotes, we have the former Secretary of the Interior, Secretary Bernhardt, whom, I mean, when this 30 by 30 first came out, I was on a policy call with him, and he made the comment that 30 by 30 was the agenda that scared him the most. And so he's coming in. Senator Kramer from North Dakota is also coming in. Senator Kramer is the senator who filed the 30 by 30 Termination Act in the Senate, which is a very, very good bill. He's coming in to speak, and Representative Lauren Boebert from Colorado is coming in to speak, who has the House bill. And then there's a couple other good people that we have coming in, such as Becky Norton Dunlop. She's with the Heritage Foundation, which is really, really good to have the Heritage Foundation speaking out on this 30 by 30 agenda. And so she's coming in. She actually began her political career with the Reagan administration and was in the White House and has been very involved in this conservation movement from our perspective for many, many years. And then we have this whole panel of landowners right now that are being impacted by 30 by 30 that are going to come in and explain what's going on in their area so that people can get a sense of what they're going to be fighting, how this is being implemented on the ground, because it is being implemented. And then we're also going to do some breakouts we'll have a room just for the county commissioners to get together across the nation and to talk about policies that are working in their area. One for the state representatives to talk about state actions that they're looking at taking to help protect their states from 30 by 30, and then one for citizens. And then we've got a lot of other stuff in between it. It is just, I mean, as we put the agenda together, I've looked at it and I thought we needed 2 days for this, but we're just doing it in one day So, I mean, this is going to be everything from getting some real tools and understanding how this is being implemented in America, and being energized to go out and fight this in your local community and know how to do it in your local community. So, I mean, this is a fantastic agenda. I want to fill the room. I hope we get a ton of people from South Dakota and North Dakota to come in. It's just one day. You can come in Thursday night. We have a great room rate for 119, but you've got to book that before April 7th when that goes up at the Cornhusker Marriott. And come in Thursday night, be ready to go. We start registrations at 7. We start at 8 o'clock in the morning and go till 6, and then you can turn around and go home, or at least get halfway home. And so, we designed it so that people in the area can actually come attend this, because I know it's a busy time for farmers and ranchers, but you can give one day to this. And frankly, we need you guys there. We need to send that message that the people do not support 30 by 30. And this is our opportunity, mainly because it's on Earth Day. So this is the day that environmentalists celebrate controlling the world. This is when they worship their God, which is Mother Earth. And so it's really important that we are there, that we speak up, and that we make it clear that Americans do not support this agenda.
If they want more information, how do they find information about this summit in Lincoln, Nebraska?
Just go to our website, americanstewards.us, and there's a link on that site. You can also just go directly to the summit site, which is stop30by30.americanstewards.us. So either way, we'll get you to that summit page, and you can read all about it, all the information on how to register. It's only $75. So, I mean, I've been told we really underpriced this, but I want the people there.
Yeah.
This is not for us to make money. This is for the people to get educated and to help us fight this. And so, but we are raising the registration rate to $125 after April 7th. So, get registered, get your room booked, and show up. We need to show the environmentalists that they are not going to win. We're here to fight.
You bet. Margaret, thank you so much for making time to come on the radio program. And maybe we should get together after the summit and see what was learned and what was taken away from there too. But thank you so much for coming on a Saturday. Appreciate it. You have yourself a great weekend and enjoy.
Thank you, Scott.
You bet. Margaret Byfield, you can find more information again at americanstewards.us. That's americanstewards.us. That's a wrap for another Dakota Prairie Outdoors Saturday edition. Don't forget about the bull sales coming up here. RWR, online-only sale on Harvey, North Dakota, going to be on DV Auction March 20th and closing the 22nd. And the Medicine Rocks Angus Ranch, Eeklock in Montana, going to be coming over to Bowman, North Dakota, April 22nd, and going to be featuring a few of the Spring Angus bulls in that one as well. Have yourself a great weekend. Enjoy. Thanks for tuning in. Check me out on the daily program and all of these radio stations. Eat some meat, drink some milk. Have yourself a great weekend. All right, stations, thank you so much. Margaret, again, thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate your help with this.
No problem.
We'll love having your help.
You bet. Well, thanks for reaching out to me. And if there's anything that I can try to help with on my radio program up this way, just feel free to contact me.
Okay, will do. And I'm going to send you a press pass. I hope you can make